Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Greenburgh Celebrates the Visual Arts. Today we have with us Sarah Marques. So there are two Sarahs here. Sarah has done a wonderful exhibit that's very different from what we usually show, only because hers is full of words and pictures. It is called The Illustrated Obituary of Moses Marques. What's really interesting is Moses Marques is a cat. Most people who would write about their cat would simply write a few words and things like that. But Ms. Marques had more to say. This really isn't just an obituary about a cat. The cat was the catalyst for this exhibit, I've been telling her. Thank you for coming and joining us today, but thank you so much for putting together this tremendous exhibit. It's how many panels? 14?
16.
16 panels. And each one tells a story about what?
Oh, each panel is delving into an episode that's recounted in the obituary. The obituary is really was just a 400 word thing, and I built on it. I elaborated it in each panel, and it grew horizontally and vertically as it went along. It was a long.
How long?
I would say it probably took about 10 years to execute.
Goodness.
It took additional time to develop it to be printed.
And you ended up in this book. It's a wonderful book. I think you don't want to sell your originals, but you sell it copies in books form.
Yeah, yes. No, the actual drawings are not for sale. I mean, my vision ideally would be for it to be someplace in its entirety.
In a museum.
Oh, in a museum, absolutely. Some collection.
Yes.
I mean, it's a dream, but
every artist is a dreamer, and every progress that they make is based on that dream coming true. So it's all right to dream about something like that. Who knows?
And I also think it's just right for what the piece is. One fragment isn't it. It's the cumulative. It's the collection. Is the story? Is the book? Is the piece?
Let's tell the audience a bit about you. You live in Bronxville.
I do.
And tell us your art background.
Oh, okay. I studied at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. I have to say my art background is having a foundation, a drawing foundation, and staying with it.
Had you ever seen anything like this before?
Among graphic pieces, I have not. Certainly there are historically people who have drawn with intense observation and with pen and ink, but no, I have not seen. I mean, maybe it exists somewhere.
Well, I want to tell the audience, these are pictures that involve the cat in it, but there are stories, but it looks like a newspaper that's been cut up, and it shows advertisements from the newspaper at the time, headlines, and the cat's reaction to some specific thing related to everything in the panel. It's a very complex thing. What I find is visitors to the gallery are going like this because some things are turned sideways and things are in different fonts. I met your teacher at your opening reception.
Yes, Joanna.
Was she an art teacher?
Joanna Claps Herman is a writer and a teacher, and she also does some visual art. I think mostly ceramics, though. She was offering a graphic novel workshop, and at the Center for Worker Education through City College in New York, and I enrolled in it. And at that point, I mean, I was just, I was thinking about ideas I wanted to work on. I was thinking, I wanted to write I've always wanted to turn this little obituary, little thing that I'd written for my cat Moses, into a graphic work.
And your teacher encouraged you. She said, "Yeah."
Oh yes, yes. I mean, I was reluctant. I have to tell you, when my background was at a time when the art world was very focused on theoretical discussion. It was semiotics and signification and this, and there was a part of me, and honestly, I could read these things and I mostly understand the thoughts, the thinking behind it, but it wasn't the reason I wanted to do art. I love to draw. And part of me was just like, it's sort of part response to that impenetrable art world and a sort of a Dada take on it all. I thought, well, I'm going to write it. I'm going to do a story about my cat. I mean, who takes 10 years out of their life to write a story about their dead cat? But so
we all have our muses.
we do.
Well, it's fascinating to hear you talk about this, because I don't get artists who often talk about themselves within the framework of the bigger art world. What you've done is exactly what artists do. They go out into the world and see what's going on, but they have something here that needs to be expressed. It works with writers, it works with poets. We all do that. It's just nice to hear you elucidate it for me and for our audience, that you look at it and you see what art is doing in the period you are. For example, they will tell you that people aren't anxious to do representational work. They're not necessarily doing portraits,
right,
or they're not doing landscapes. I love a beautiful new landscape with snow and all those other things. That's what I like, but
right,
I don't draw that. And it never dawned on me that artists had to figure out where to place themselves within the framework of the current art world in which they live, and how often they will go off on a different path and create something new. I keep thinking this is new. While I know about graphic novels, this is more intense than a graphic novel. The words are on the page, but it requires you to see something more.
Well, it's a graphic. I called it a graphic elegy for a reason. It's more a poetic form, right? It's layered in a way a poem is. Reading a poem can be a painstaking thing, as much as you're swept up in it. Each word is so carefully chosen to resonate and to trigger the internal associations and mental images. And in a way, I think that, this is 16 panels. I don't think it would be, I think more would be too much. Could it sustain another 16 panels? I think that's exhausting. It's not like Milton, it's not Paradise Lost, right? But yeah. So I was saying, it's more a poem, a visual poem. And I guess in some ways, poets have also used lettering on a page to convey the poem too.
Is that why you chose so many different kinds, different fonts for different things on the page, same page?
I chose what seemed to fit the piece required.
Well, what did you give Moses? Everything.
I gave Moses Moses thinks in Edwardian script.
What made you choose that?
You know, because it's something about her formality felt dated. She was not casual. She was certainly unrestrained at times, but not casual. There's a fastidiousness to her. I also felt that the script, I don't know how to say this exactly, but the script it sort of designated her, not to get too academic, as an observing ego. And I realized that more in retrospect. At the time, it was like there was a whimsy to it, and I had to make her a good visual counterpoint because the actual script of the core 400-word obituary is in that typewriter font. There's other fonts for the other, like, more newspaper elements. There's different types of newspapers. It's more subtle, but some newspapers don't have the same serif script that, say, the New York Times does.
There's all this background, and
Yeah.
I think that the casual viewer would never think that you didn't just arbitrarily pull one off the shelf. You were
No.
actually assigning them. It's almost
Yeah.
like characters in a novel.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought of it in that way.
You've
Yes,
written this
yes.
whole novel, and
Yeah,
you've given
yeah.
everybody, you know, they have different accents, they dress differently, they have different directions for their behavior.
Yes, yes. Well, there's certainly that in the font, and I suppose, and I think also in the drawing. You know, Moses was not alive. I mean, when I began working on this, so I mean, I draw in a very detailed way, and so the more static elements of the piece are drawn differently than the cat. The cat has almost, probably the more graphic, I don't want to say cartoon or comic because it's not that, but I think that also distinguishes her motion through the pictorial space. I think that the contrast, I think, is there. And you know, so many things happen as one works, and then when I see in retrospect, like when I said that bit about how her thoughts, that question of who is observing whom, in this narrative of my life with Moses.
There's one picture that really strikes me because Moses has a lamplight shining down.
Oh,
And it's so striking because I'm like, how did she make a beam of light on a page? But the cat is just observing.
she's looking into it.
Yes.
That's an end of life moment. The big stare.
Ah.
Yeah, that comes. Yeah, and it's like I put, you know, in the exhibit you can see, well, in the book too. There's the words like, what did we do? What happened? You know, it's like at the end of life. Did I do the best with what I have? What happened? What did we do
And yet
this whole
there's
time?
this playful side to the exhibit.
Oh yeah.
There's one where Moses grabs various intimate parts
Oh yes.
of the pieces of clothing
Yes.
and carries it around, and it's like,
Puts it on her food.
and I'm smiling. So it's serious and yet it's playful and it's interesting. I really enjoyed it, and I have to tell you, every time I come through the exhibit, I see something different. And for me, that's a sign of the artist's depth of perception and presentation.
Well, you know, don't you think it's, in a way, a really slowed down version of how we all take in the world? You know? I mean, things are, like I said, things are chugging along horizontally, but it's happening in vertical layers simultaneously. It's just this massive perception and awareness and background and happening. And I think that, and you know, as much as, like I always say, it's not just a story about a cat. I have to say, also, and this is like the artist part of me talking, is that...
Well, they say that every portrait has a piece of the painter in it, the painter's self in the creation of the character. So, of course, it would be fitting that parts of you would be included in that, even though it's kind of muted.
Yes, well, and somehow, and also subtly yet directly. I mean, there are certain. I mean, I also call it a stealth memoir, because like Moses, and also I want to. This is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I want to mention also. I never, in anything I present about Moses, I never really, when I write about, I don't ever refer to her as my cat, right? She's just like my companion or something. Because of that, it's not simply a cat story, even though I love my cat.
Well, you said it's the story of the 18 years you shared life with Moses.
Yes.
When you completed the 16 panels, how did you know it was finished?
You know, I had the obituary typed up and sitting in front of me on my drawing table. For years. And whenever I completed a section, I'd draw a line. And then one day there were no more lines.
Well, they say every story tells you when it's finished.
Yeah, and I knew there'd be an end point because I was working, in a way, somewhat literally from this text and meandering within that. And like recalling and reconstructing and drawing things from the present. And
now, I was surprised on the day of your reception that you brought swag. You have aprons.
I do.
Chef's aprons with Moses' picture on it.
Yes.
You have dish towels. It was funny.
Yeah.
Because people were so anxious to get them. Everybody's obsessed with cats and dogs in today's world.
They are.
And I think that it was really wise because people forget that artists are actually creative people who are trying to make a living in the art world.
Yes.
So this gives you an opportunity to send Moses out into the world. There's no writing on it, just Moses' picture. And people were just picking them up and trying them on and buying them. And I was really happy to see the joy it brought. I never thought of an obituary. It's like every memorial service, people laugh and talk and eat and have fun. And that was like Moses' memorial service when you had your opening reception.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, that was, yes.
It was a cold day.
Oh.
All these people showed up. I think it was 11 degrees, and all these people showed up.
I was so shocked.
I was kind of shocked too because I kept thinking nobody's coming out in this weather. They came out, they stayed, they enjoyed it. They really asked questions. I think Moses was among us as we were there because I think that's how the spirit is. You've put the spirit of Moses on paper.
I hope
now,
I did.
What are you planning after this? What are you working on?
Well, I'm working on a few things.
Oh, okay, tell me.
At the moment, I'm learning some new techniques. I'm learning cyanotype, and within that, I'm making a bestiary. Some people say bestiary. It has.
Tell me what a bestiary.
It's animals. It's a collection of animals, and it's usually accompanied by has moral underpinnings. Like the fox will be like a representative of cunning and slyness, or so another animal would represent hoarding. A lot of times it equates to moral foibles.
Are you doing an owl?
I'm not doing an owl. I'm doing flies. I'm doing pigeons having a food fight.
Okay.
I'm doing a squirrel with their eye on the prize, that acorn. And I'm doing an aging animal. And it's going to be it's going to be a very brief thing. It will not take 10 years. So I'm working on that. And I'm also working on this is going to be a long one, a I care a lot about, I'm interested in, that's a combination of words and imagery. And basically how the mind conjures both, synthesizes both of them in a piece. And like graphic works, like graphic novels, and poetry. And I'm taking a Coleridge poem, a real, like, in some ways as, what's the word? That's kind of a, for the Kubla Khan, in Xanadu to Kubla Khan, or some President decree. That, you see, I mean, you see it written in graffiti. It's just, it's in the vernacular, those few lines of it anyway. And I'm taking that poem and I'm depicting it. I'm kind of interpreting it. I'm kind of drawing out how it works on my mind. And it has a lot of landscape. And I'm working similarly to how I did in Moses, except it's color. It'll be in color.
Ah, okay. Well, that's right, my audiences know. You did Moses in pure black and white.
Oh, yeah.
There's
newspaper.
No color. The newspaper print, the pictures, all of the pieces around it.
Yeah.
Sarah, you're a very interesting person. I'm really glad we had this conversation because people at the reception were asking you questions about things. And I think that they can all come back and watch this and find an in-depth
I hope they find a way. Excuse me, I interrupted you. I hope they find a way into it. One of the things that has struck me when people walk into Moses or start looking at it, that what seems straightforward to me may not be as evident to the person who's just seeing it. And people, all kinds of people, who are like even like accustomed to looking at visual things and are almost like, well, what's happening here? There's a little bit of what's happening here. I suppose you have that with all artwork.
Well, I appreciate that you put together a piece about it, a written thing to help. This is almost a guide to it, to entering it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's complex.
Yes.
It's complex. The drawing is intricate. There's formal components that matter as much to me as the actual story. It's all of a piece. And
we could have a guided tour by the artist.
I'd be happy to do a guided tour.
To take people through and talk about each panel and what you see. It's almost, this is the quality thing that when I said museum, could collect it and put a docent there and have the docent talk to everybody about it. Once they learn all of this, talk to everybody about the whole content and the concept and intent of the artist. It's a fascinating thing. I was really happy to have on exhibit a copy of the book because it's a large print book. A large size. It's like a big coffee table book.
Yeah.
So when you look
like
at
the New
it,
York Times.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like opening the newspaper and sitting at the breakfast table and reading it.
Except you don't get to fold it, do that fold thing.
Yes, above the fold, below the fold, everything's there. But you really have to look at everything. People in the building, I find pausing.
Really?
At it on their way someplace else, and they stop and they're reading. Then they come back again. So this is being seen by people who come to Greenburgh Town Hall for other reasons.
I love that.
And they get stopped and they're like, what is this? Then they go and pick up this flyer that you've, information flyer that you've put out. They read it, then they go back and look at it. I think they spend more time in Town Hall than they intended to. So it's, anything else you want to tell the audience about this before we close?
A couple of little random things. One is this, I remember at the opening, a lot of people want to know how I did certain things. And for example, there are the actual newspapers, I mean, there are things that I would cut out. For example, this particular page, it has like words that are around the edge and strong. I took a piece of newspaper, I did the drawing, I cut it out, I pinned up the thing and drew the paper. And some of the drawing, some of the writing, mostly it's fictional obituaries that I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
In the instances where it's not, I've made that clear. But sometimes the content is what was on the page at the time I drew that piece of newspaper. I didn't like make up financial reports or weather or when that, and it's like the visual look of that thing. That it was just a piece of information that just came up for people. And
this is a very complex exhibit. Very interesting, very entertaining. It makes the reader think. And I think the reader goes back, the viewer goes back and says, oh, that's what that is. Oh, hobbies, Hobbes, Babette. There's a whole list of things here.
yeah.
And we don't slow down anymore. Everyone's in a hurry. Your exhibit, I hope, will make people pause the same way they do in a cemetery. You go and you read one headstone, you think about it, you read another, you think about it, you look at the sky, you look at this. It all becomes a moment of peace. And I think we're all looking for moments of peace today. Well,
That's true.
it's been a pleasure. I've learned so much more sitting here in this interview, even than things I learned as I worked with you in hanging the exhibit. This exhibit is up through April 7th.
Okay.
And the building is accessible from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're in the second floor gallery, and there is no charge for this wonderful exhibit. So thank you very much for coming
Sarah.
for this interview. Thank you for bringing your work to Greenburgh. And I hope that we see it in a museum one day. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this very intense conversation with the artist. Thank you, Sarah Marques. Come back and visit the exhibit. Come back for the next Greenburgh Celebrates the Visual Arts. Bye.